Okay, here I am again with better picture quality and probably the same sound quality and probably no skipped frames. I am testing out my new SD card, 128 gigabyte SD card that I threw on my Samsung phone because I really didn't like the quality of the videos I was making through YouTube Live. And they weren't showing up in the right spot of YouTube too. They were showing under live instead of just YouTube uploads. So this is what I'm going to do from now on. I can probably make a half-hour video easily on my Samsung or more. Although I tend to limit my videos to half an hour. So yeah, here you go. Um, why don't I have a whiteboard behind me? Good question. I actually have a whiteboard in Canada. It's sitting in the back of my Jeep, which is in storage. I gave up my apartment in Canada because I didn't know how long I'd be back in Germany for before I come back to Canada. The problem for me is simply logistics. Because of this ridiculous quarantine law, and I'll explain in a moment why I think it's ridiculous, coming into Canada, it makes it very difficult for me because I would love to go back to the Calgary Flying Club and work for 3 or 4 months and then come back here. But I'd have to sit around for 2 weeks, and of course, I can't find a flat or a place to stay when I'm in quarantine. So I'd have to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks, find a place online, and then have to wait till the 2 weeks is up before I could even go and check the place out. It just doesn't work. Um, Here's the thing. If a Canadian comes to Germany, Canada is not on Germany's bad list. So when I came to Germany, I just got off the airplane and came to my flat here. No quarantine. Why it's not reciprocal is beyond me. Um, I think there's a double standard on the go, and I can't help but think that a ball is being dropped in Canada with regards to air travel. It affects air travel in so many ways, and of course affects my job and the potential jobs of students that I would have. Um, Basically, the last time I checked, um, the chief flying instructor's assistant had called the first 15 people on the list next to start their flight training, and each of the 15 said no, they did not want to continue flight training because they're afraid that there's no jobs. Well, I have a thought about that. First of all, it's not like you're going to get a job in 6 months or 12 months from the beginning of your flight training, especially not at a busy airport like Springbank, CYBW, where the Calgary Flying Club is located. It takes a while to get your private license, and then your commercial license, and then your multi-IFR. And it takes years. So I think it's kind of ridiculous to say, oh no, I don't want to start flight training now because there's no jobs. Well, we're talking 2 years at least from the point that you start working on your pilot's license before you'd even be considered to be in a line for a job. So it's really not an excuse to not do your flight training. In fact, I would argue that this is the best time to do your flight training. Why? Number one, there are more availabilities of airplanes because fewer people are training. Number two, there are more availabilities of flight instructors because more flight instructors are staying in the flight instructing game, waiting to continue on into the air taxis, commuters, and airwork operations. Um, there are more incentives financially because the flying schools want to be fully booked, so you can probably get better deals. There's no good reason to not do your flight training now. It's better now than I think it was a year ago for potential flight students. That's how I feel about it. Nevertheless, uh, I don't know whether I'm going to wait until the quarantine period has been dismissed from Transport Canada or the Canadian government, or whether I'm going to just cool my heels in a hotel and look online for a place to stay more permanently um, before resuming operations over at the Calgary Flying Club, or even whether I will pick another place to work. Although I really do love the Calgary Flying Club and all the people there. Uh, yeah, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. But I do have to say this. I just want to reiterate it. You know, don't think that flying is finished. It's a ridiculous notion. Okay, we have a huge infrastructure in the world for air transport. Okay, you have commercial airline operations, you have commuter operations, you have air taxi operations. There's air work. There's crop dusting is still happening. There's pipeline patrol. People are still parachuting, so you can take people up as a commercial pilot and toss them out of the airplane. Um, there is no end to the kinds of jobs that you can do in the industry. In fact, possibly this coronavirus situation might have actually cleared the way and ungummed up the system to a certain extent. Um, I think that in the long run, or not even the long run, in the medium run, in the longer short term, we're going to be in a better position, and the airlines will come back. Yeah, sure, the weak animals will die off, but the viable and the stronger operations will continue on. So get with your flying. Go ahead, call a flight school. Go ahead, book your intro flight. Remember, it's going to take you a couple of years before you'd even be remotely ready to, in terms of like the amount of hours that you need for your commercial license. Don't forget, you need 100 hours PIC time, right? You don't get all that from just going right from your private pilot into your commercial. You got to fly 100 hours, right? So just do it. Do it. Go ahead and do it because the jobs will be there. And also remember that even the largest airplanes also fly cargo. For me personally, I'd rather fly a plane load of equipment than a plane load of people. A lot less hassles in a lot of ways. So, yeah. So I think I encourage you to, if you put a pause on your flight training, to unpause that and continue on. And I encourage you that if you're thinking about getting into training as a pilot, then go for it. It's a good time to do it. It seriously is. So anyway, that's my little rant while I check out my phone memory stick. Have a good one. Bye.